Welcome to Indonesia, a nation of over 17,000 islands scattered across the equator like emeralds on sapphire silk, where ancient temples emerge from jungle mists, where volcanic peaks pierce clouds and occasionally rain fire and ash, where coral reefs teem with more marine life than anywhere else on Earth, and where hundreds of distinct cultures and languages create a tapestry of human diversity as rich as the natural biodiversity surrounding them. This is the world's largest archipelago, stretching over 3,000 miles from east to west, spanning 3 time zones, and straddling the meeting point of the Asian and Australian continental plates, where geological forces create landscapes of stunning beauty and occasional terrifying power. Indonesia is a land of superlatives, home to the largest Buddhist temple in the world, the last remaining populations of orangutans, Komodo dragons that seem pulled from prehistoric times, some of the most active volcanoes on the planet, and Raja Ampat's underwater paradise where scientists discover new species on nearly every expedition. From the cultural heartland of Java and Bali to the remote wilderness of Papua, from the sophisticated cities of Jakarta and Yogyakarta to traditional villages where ancient customs remain unchanged, Indonesia offers a journey through landscapes and cultures that will challenge your assumptions and expand your understanding of how humans relate to nature and each other. If you're ready to explore ancient stone temples covered in intricate carvings that tell stories 1,000 years old, active volcanoes where you can watch sunrise paint the sky while standing on the crater rim, pristine coral reefs where you'll swim with manta rays and sea turtles in water so clear it seems unreal, traditional villages built on stilts where funeral ceremonies last for days and involve entire communities, dense rainforests where orangutans swing through the canopy and hornbills call from hidden perches, paradise islands with white sand beaches and turquoise water surrounded by dramatic volcanic landscapes, and cultural performances where dancers move with precision learned over lifetimes. Click that subscribe button. It's completely free, but means the world to us, and you'll join our community of travelers discovering the planet's most amazing places. Today we're embarking on an extraordinary journey through Indonesia's most spectacular destinations, from Java's ancient monuments to Papua's pristine reefs, and I promise you, by the end of this journey, you'll understand why Indonesia captivates travelers with its incredible combination of natural wonders and cultural richness. Borobudur in central Java stands as the largest Buddhist monument in the world and one of humanity's most impressive architectural achievements. A massive stone structure built in the 9th century that rises from the jungle floor in 9 stacked platforms topped by a central dome. The entire complex representing Buddhist cosmology in stone. Walking through Borobudur at dawn as mist rises from the surrounding jungle and the first light touches the stone is a profoundly moving experience that transcends religious belief and speaks to something universal about human aspiration and devotion. The temple was built without mortar, over 2 million cubic feet of stone blocks fitted together with such precision that the structure has survived over 1,000 years of tropical weather, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions. The temple lay abandoned and buried under volcanic ash and jungle for centuries after Java converted to Islam, and it was only rediscovered in the early 1800s by the British governor Stamford Raffles. The restoration, particularly the major UNESCO project in the 1970s and 80s, returned Borobudur to its former glory. The temple is designed as a massive 3-dimensional mandala, and pilgrims traditionally walk clockwise around each level, a journey that totals over 3 miles and takes you past over 2,700 relief panels depicting the life of Buddha, Buddhist teachings, and scenes from daily life in 9th century Java that provide invaluable historical information. The reliefs are masterpieces of stone carving, showing incredible detail in the figures, architecture, ships, and landscapes depicted. As you ascend through the levels, the reliefs transition from depicting earthly desires and suffering to spiritual teachings, and finally to enlightenment. The upper circular platforms hold 72 stupas, each containing a Buddha statue visible through diamond-shaped openings, and the central stupa crowns the entire structure. According to tradition, touching the Buddha statues brings good luck, though this practice is now discouraged to preserve the monument. The view from the upper terraces encompasses the surrounding volcanoes, including Merapi and Merbabu, and understanding that the entire temple was designed to be viewed from above, matching the form of a lotus flower, reveals the sophisticated planning involved. The nearby Mendut and Pawan temples are considered part of the same complex and worth visiting. Visiting Borobudur for sunrise requires arriving very early, but watching the sun emerge from mist and gradually illuminate the stone, with the sounds of the waking jungle around you, is absolutely worth losing sleep. Mount Bromo in East Java creates one of the most dramatic and otherworldly landscapes in Indonesia, an active volcano sitting within the massive Tengger caldera, alongside two other volcanic cones, surrounded by the sand sea, a vast plain of volcanic ash that looks like the surface of the moon. The pre-dawn journey to watch sunrise over Mount Bromo has become one of Indonesia's iconic experiences, and standing on the crater rim of Mount Penanjakan as the sky lightens and reveals the smoking cone of Bromo, the perfectly symmetrical Mount Semeru in the distance occasionally puffing smoke and ash, and the alien landscape of the sand sea is absolutely breathtaking. The play of light and mist creates constantly changing scenes, and photographers can spend hours capturing different moods as the sun rises. Mount Bromo itself stands 7,700 feet high and is continuously active, with a crater that churns with sulfurous smoke and occasionally erupts with more violence, though the current activity level allows safe visits to the crater rim. Crossing the sand sea on foot or by horse, the only sounds being your breathing and the crunch of volcanic ash underfoot, feels like walking on another planet, and the approach to Bromo's cone across this desolate landscape is surreal. The climb up the concrete steps to Bromo's crater rim takes about 20 minutes and gets progressively more sulfurous as you approach, the smell of rotten eggs intensifying until you reach the rim and look down into the smoking crater with its churning gases and occasional glimpses of the volcanic vent. The sound of the volcano, a low rumble punctuated by hissing vents, reminds you that this mountain is very much alive. The Tenggerese people, descendants of the Majapahit kingdom who fled to these mountains when Islam spread through Java, maintain Hindu traditions and consider Bromo sacred, throwing offerings into the crater during the annual Yadnya Kasada ceremony. The area around Bromo offers excellent hiking through the caldera and up surrounding peaks, and spending a night in one of the villages inside the caldera allows you to experience the area without the crowds that arrive for sunrise. The journey to Bromo from either Surabaya or Malang involves driving through increasingly mountainous terrain, passing through productive agricultural areas where vegetables thrive in the volcanic soil, and arriving at what feels like the edge of the world. Bali, the island of the gods, needs little introduction as it's become synonymous with paradise in the global imagination. But the reality of Bali is more complex and interesting than the resort brochures suggest. A place where ancient Hindu traditions permeate daily life, where terraced rice paddies create landscapes of impossible green, where temple ceremonies happen constantly and everyone participates, and where the Balinese have somehow maintained their cultural identity despite decades of mass tourism. The island is relatively small, about 90 miles across, but encompasses incredible diversity from beaches to mountains, from cultural heartlands to party towns, from ancient temples to modern developments. Ubud, Bali's cultural center nestled in the foothills surrounded by rice terraces and jungle, offers the most authentic Balinese experience for visitors, with traditional dance performances held nightly at various locations, art galleries showcasing both traditional and contemporary Balinese art, craft workshops where you can watch and learn traditional skills, and numerous temples, including the sacred monkey forest, where long-tailed macaques roam freely among Hindu shrines and giant trees. The Tegalalang rice terraces north of Ubud create some of Bali's most photographed landscapes, with the vibrant green of growing rice cascading down hillsides in perfectly sculpted terraces that have been worked by hand for centuries. The Subak system, a traditional cooperative water management system for rice cultivation that's been practiced for over 1,000 years, is so sophisticated and culturally important it's been designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Tana Lot Temple sits on a rock formation surrounded by ocean, accessible at low tide but isolated at high tide, and watching sunset from the clifftop with the temple silhouetted against the sky has become one of Bali's iconic experiences despite the crowds. Uluwatu Temple perches on dramatic cliffs at the southern tip of the Bukit Peninsula, and the daily Kekak dance performances held at sunset combine the dramatic clifftop location, traditional dance and chanting, and sunset views, creating an unforgettable experience. The beaches of Bali vary dramatically, from the gentle waves and white sand of Nusa Dua to the powerful surf of Uluwatu, from the backpacker scene of Kuta to the more upscale Seminyak, from the black volcanic sand beaches of the north coast to the pristine waters around the Gili Islands just offshore. Mount Batur, an active volcano in the northeast, offers sunrise hiking where you climb in darkness to reach the summit as dawn breaks, revealing views across the volcanic landscape and Lake Batur below. The Balinese Hindu ceremonies and offerings are constant, with small woven palm leaf offerings containing flowers, incense, and food placed everywhere from temple entrances to sidewalks to the dashboards of cars, maintaining the balance between the physical and spiritual worlds that's central to Balinese belief. The gamelan music, with its shimmering metallophones and intricate rhythms, provides the soundtrack to temple ceremonies and performances. Tirta Empul Temple, with its holy spring water pools where Balinese Hindus come for ritual purification, allows respectful visitors to participate in the purification ceremony under the spring water spouts. Raja Ampat in far eastern Indonesia, off the coast of West Papua, represents the pinnacle of marine biodiversity on planet Earth, a remote archipelago of over 1,500 islands where coral reefs support more species of fish and coral than anywhere else, where underwater visibility often exceeds 100 feet, and where the limestone karst islands rising from turquoise water create landscapes of surreal beauty. Scientists have documented over 1,500 species of fish and over 500 species of coral in Raja Ampat, and they discover new species on virtually every research expedition, making this the epicenter of the Coral Triangle. The diving and snorkeling here is simply the best in the world, and that's not hyperbole but a statement supported by marine biologists and experienced divers worldwide. Drifting over coral gardens that explode with color, where every surface is covered with competing corals, sponges, and other invertebrates, where fish of every imaginable color and pattern swim in clouds, where manta rays glide past with wingspans over 15 feet, where reef sharks patrol the edges, and where the sheer abundance of life overwhelms your ability to process it all, is an experience that changes how you understand ocean ecosystems. The visibility allows you to see the reef extending in every direction, and the drop-offs where reef walls plunge hundreds of feet create dizzying perspectives. The iconic viewpoint on Payainmo, reached by climbing wooden stairs up a karst island, reveals a seascape of limestone islands covered in vegetation rising from shallow turquoise water, a view so perfect it seems almost too beautiful to be real. Wayeg in the north of Raja Ampat offers similar stunning views and even fewer visitors. The traditional Papuan villages scattered throughout Raja Ampat maintain customs largely unchanged for centuries, and visiting with local guides arranged through homestays provides insights into how people live in harmony with this marine environment, relying on fishing, but also protecting the reefs through traditional resource management. The homestay program in Raja Ampat allows visitors to stay in traditional villages, sleep in simple bungalows or on boats, eat fresh fish and local food, and experience genuine Papuan hospitality while supporting local communities directly. The remoteness of Raja Ampat means getting here requires commitment, flying from Jakarta or Bali to Sorong, then taking a ferry or fast boat for several hours. But this remoteness has protected the reefs from the damage that's devastated coral reefs closer to population centers. The lively-aboard diving boats that operate in Raja Ampat allow access to the most remote sites and the ability to dive multiple times per day, maximizing the experience for serious divers. Komodo National Park protects the unique Komodo dragons, the world's largest living lizards that can grow over 10 feet long and weigh over 200 pounds, prehistoric predators found nowhere else on Earth that hunt with venom, powerful jaws, and the patience to track wounded prey for days. The park encompasses 3 major islands, Komodo, Rinca, and Padar, plus numerous smaller islands, and protects not just the dragons but also some of Indonesia's best marine environments with coral reefs, mangroves, and seagrass beds supporting incredible biodiversity. Seeing Komodo dragons in the wild is thrilling and slightly terrifying, as these are apex predators perfectly designed for their environment, and while they appear sluggish and slow, they can move with surprising speed over short distances, and their bite delivers anticoagulant venom that prevents blood clotting. The dragons are scavengers and hunters, eating anything they can overpower, including deer, wild pigs, water buffalo, and occasionally each other, and their eating habits are not for the squeamish. The rangers who guide visitors through the islands carry forked sticks, not to fight dragons but to gently redirect any that get too curious. And while attacks on humans are rare, they do happen, adding an element of genuine danger to the treks. The dragons are most active in the morning before the heat becomes intense, and guided treks across the dry, savanna-like landscape of Komodo and Rinca offer excellent chances to see them, with the dragons often found lounging in shade or near ranger stations, where they've learned food scraps sometimes appear. The breeding behavior, where males fight violently for mating rights and females can reproduce through parthenogenesis when males aren't available, is fascinating. The marine environment around Komodo is spectacular, with strong currents bringing nutrients that support huge quantities of fish and coral, and dive sites like Batu Balong and Castle Rock are world-renowned for their biodiversity and exciting drift dives. The snorkeling is equally impressive at sites like Pink Beach, named for its pink-tinged sand created by red coral fragments, where you can snorkel right off the beach and see incredible marine life. Padar Island offers one of Indonesia's most iconic views, a short, steep hike to a viewpoint revealing 3 bays with different colored sand, beaches white, pink, and black, separated by steep hillsides covered in savanna grass, with the surrounding islands and ocean creating a landscape of stunning beauty. The combination of dragons and diving, prehistoric predators and pristine reefs makes Komodo National Park absolutely unique. Tana Toraja in the highlands of South Sulawesi offers one of Indonesia's most fascinating cultural experiences, where the Torajan people maintain elaborate death rituals and ancestral traditions that set them apart from the rest of Indonesia. The Torajan culture revolves around death and the afterlife, with funerals being the most important ceremonies, sometimes involving hundreds of water buffalo and pigs sacrificed to honor the deceased and ensure their journey to the afterlife, with the ceremonies lasting for days and costing families enormous sums that they save for over lifetimes. The traditional Torajan houses, called tangkunan, feature dramatic boat-shaped roofs that curve upward at both ends, and these houses are adorned with intricate carvings and buffalo horns from past sacrifices displayed on the front, with the number of horns indicating the family's status and wealth. The villages scattered throughout the Toraja Highlands, with their clusters of traditional houses set against a backdrop of rice terraces and mountains, create scenes of incredible beauty. The burial practices are what truly set Toraja apart, with various methods used depending on status and tradition. The cliff burials involve carving chambers into limestone cliffs where wooden coffins are placed, with tau, life-sized wooden effigies of the deceased, placed on balconies carved into the cliff face to guard over the remains. These effigies, dressed in clothing and staring out over the valley, create an eerie but fascinating sight. Other burials involve hanging coffins from cliff faces or placing them in caves. The baby tree burials, where deceased infants are placed in carved hollows in large trees which then heal around them, reflect beliefs about purification and rebirth. The manning ceremony, held every few years, involves families removing their ancestors' remains from burial sites, cleaning and changing their clothes, and parading them through the village before returning them, maintaining physical connection with ancestors that most cultures would find shocking but Torajans see as honoring their dead. Attending a Torajan funeral, which visitors are welcome to if properly respectful, is intense, with days of ceremonies involving the sacrifice of water buffalo, traditional music and dancing, elaborate costumes, and the entire community participating. The landscape of Tana Toraja is beautiful, with lush rice terraces, coffee plantations, and traditional villages connected by winding mountain roads, and trekking between villages offers insights into rural life and spectacular scenery. The Gili Islands off Lombok's northwest coast offer a tropical paradise experience with 3 small islands, Gili Trawangan, Gili Meno, and Gili Air, each with distinct character but all featuring white sand beaches, crystal clear water, excellent snorkeling and diving, and a relaxed atmosphere enhanced by the complete absence of motorized vehicles. The Gilis sit on a coral reef platform, and the snorkeling right off the beaches is exceptional, with sea turtles commonly seen grazing on seagrass or cruising past as you float above the reef. The diving around the Gilis includes drift dives, where currents sweep you along the reef, while fish swarm in the nutrient-rich water, wreck dives on artificial reefs created by sunk boats, and night dives where completely different marine life emerges. Gili Trawangan, the largest and most developed, has evolved from a backpacker hangout to a more upscale destination while maintaining a relaxed party atmosphere, with beach bars hosting parties and fire dancers performing on the sand. Gili Meno, the smallest and quietest, offers the most peaceful experience with fewer tourists and the strongest focus on relaxation and romance, making it popular with honeymooners. Gili Air sits between the other two in terms of development and atmosphere, with a larger local population giving it more authentic island feel alongside the tourist infrastructure. Cycling or walking around each island takes only an hour or two, and the Sodomo, horse-drawn carts, provide the only transportation besides bicycles. The sunsets from the Gilis, with Bali's Mount Agung visible across the strait and the sun dropping into the ocean, are spectacular, and watching from a beachside restaurant with your feet in the sand while sipping a fresh coconut is about as relaxing as life gets. The coral reef suffered damage from an earthquake in 2018 and from warming waters, but recovery is ongoing and the marine life remains abundant. Mount Rinjani on Lombok, Indonesia's second highest volcano, looms on the horizon from the Gilis, and the 2-day trek to its summit via the crater lake is one of Indonesia's classic hikes for those seeking more active adventure. Yogyakarta, often called Jogja, serves as Java's cultural heartland and Indonesia's center for traditional Javanese arts, from batik fabric making to gamelan music to wayang shadow puppetry to classical dance. The city maintains a relaxed, artistic atmosphere and remains an important center of Javanese culture despite modernization. The Kraton, the Sultan's palace that remains the home of the Sultan of Yogyakarta, who still holds significant influence, is a beautiful complex of traditional Javanese architecture where you can watch gamelan orchestras practice, see traditional dance rehearsals, and tour the museums displaying royal treasures and gifts from foreign dignitaries over centuries. The Sultan's palace maintains traditions including employing court dancers and musicians who preserve classical forms. The Taman Sari Water Castle, the Sultan's former pleasure gardens and bathing complex, is partially ruined but fascinating to explore with its Portuguese-influenced architecture, underground tunnels, and remaining pools. Malioboro Street, Yogyakarta's main thoroughfare, buzzes with activity day and night, with street vendors selling everything from batik to street food, Batak bicycle rickshaws competing for passengers, and crowds of locals and tourists creating constant energy. The batik workshops throughout Yogyakarta offer chances to watch artisans creating intricate designs using traditional methods of applying wax and dye to fabric, a UNESCO-recognized art form where the most complex pieces require months of work. Prambanan Temple, about 10 miles from Yogyakarta, is Indonesia's largest Hindu temple complex and a masterpiece of 9th century architecture. The complex includes over 200 temples, though only a fraction have been reconstructed, with the 3 main temples dedicated to the Trimurti, the 3 supreme Hindu gods Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. The Shiva temple stands over 150 feet tall and is covered in reliefs depicting the Ramayana epic. The stone carving throughout Prambanan shows incredible skill and artistry, with detailed figures and intricate decorative patterns. Watching the Ramayana ballet performed against the illuminated backdrop of Prambanan Temple combines traditional dance, gamelan music, and one of the world's great architectural monuments in an unforgettable cultural experience. Yogyakarta serves as the base for visiting both Borobudur and Prambanan, making it essential for anyone interested in Java's ancient monuments. The Baliem Valley in the Highlands of Papua represents one of the most remote and culturally unique regions in Indonesia, where the Dani people maintained a Stone Age existence until first contact with the outside world in 1938, and where traditional culture remains strong despite modernization pressures. The valley sits at over 5,000 feet elevation, surrounded by mountains reaching over 13,000 feet, and the isolation created by this geography allowed the Dani and other highland tribes to develop cultures entirely distinct from coastal Indonesia. The landscape is stunning, with the fertile valley floor intensively cultivated with sweet potatoes, the staple food, using traditional methods with digging sticks and irrigation channels, showing sophisticated agricultural knowledge. The traditional Dani villages consist of round thatched huts with low doorways requiring you to stoop to enter, and the interiors are smoky from cooking fires that burn constantly, the smoke helping preserve the thatched roofs. The Dani men traditionally wear only kotkas, gourds worn over their genitals, while women wear grass skirts, though Western clothing is increasingly common, especially in the main town of Wamena. The cultural practices that made the Dani famous, including ritual warfare between villages and finger amputation for women when close relatives died, have been officially ended, though memories remain strong. The mummy of a tribal chief preserved through smoking can still be seen in some villages, a practice no longer allowed, but representing how the Dani honored important ancestors. Trekking in the Baliem Valley, staying in traditional villages and experiencing daily life, offers insights into how humans adapted to highland tropical environments and maintained sophisticated societies with minimal material possessions. The annual Baliem Valley Festival showcases traditional culture with mock battles between tribes, traditional dances, pig racing, and demonstrations of traditional skills, allowing visitors to experience elements of traditional culture in a controlled setting. The mountains surrounding the valley offer excellent trekking for those prepared for the physical challenge and basic accommodations, with trails connecting villages through pristine forests and crossing mountain passes with spectacular views. The friendliness and curiosity of the Dani people, especially in more remote villages where visitors remain uncommon, creates wonderful interactions and opportunities for cultural exchange. Lake Toba in North Sumatra is one of the world's largest volcanic lakes, formed by a supervolcanic eruption roughly 75,000 years ago that was one of the most powerful eruptions in Earth's history, throwing so much material into the atmosphere that it may have caused a volcanic winter affecting the entire planet and creating a population bottleneck in human evolution. The lake stretches over 60 miles long and nearly 20 miles wide, and in its center sits Samasia Island, a landmass almost as large as Singapore that was formed by resurgent volcanic activity after the caldera collapsed. The scale of Lake Toba is difficult to grasp until you're standing on its shores looking across water that stretches to distant mountains, creating vistas more reminiscent of an inland sea than a lake. The Batak people, indigenous to the area around Lake Toba, maintain distinctive culture including traditional architecture with dramatic peaked roofs similar to Torajan houses, but with unique Batak styling, intricate wood carving, and traditional music featuring instruments unique to Batak culture. Samasia Island offers a peaceful retreat with traditional villages, rice paddies, hot springs along the shore where you can soak while gazing at the lake, and rental motorcycles or bicycles allowing exploration at your own pace. The traditional Batak houses, called Rumah Bolon, feature dramatically peaked roofs representing buffalo horns and intricate carvings on the facades depicting Batak cosmology and symbols. The stone chairs of King Sidibuta in Ambarita village, ancient stone thrones and execution blocks where criminals and enemies were judged and executed, provide sobering reminders of earlier times when the Batak practiced headhunting and cannibalism before Dutch colonial influence and Christian missionary work changed their culture. Tomok village hosts the tomb of King Sidibuta with detailed stone carvings, and traditional Batak dance performances happen regularly for visitors. The hills surrounding the lake offer hiking with spectacular views, and the sunsets over the lake, watching the sun drop behind the mountains while the water turns golden, are magical. The cool highland climate makes Lake Toba a refreshing escape from Indonesia's tropical heat, and the relaxed atmosphere and natural beauty make it popular with travelers seeking to slow down and decompress. Bunaken Marine Park off the coast of North Sulawesi protects some of Indonesia's finest coral walls, where reef drops vertically from just below the surface to depth exceeding 100 feet, creating dramatic underwater topography covered in pristine coral and swarming with fish. The walls are what make Bunaken special, allowing divers and snorkelers to hover at the edge of these underwater cliffs watching sharks patrol the blue water, turtles cruise past, schools of jacks and fusiliers stream by in silver clouds, and every conceivable reef fish occupies its niche in the complex coral ecosystem. The clarity of the water at Bunaken is exceptional, often exceeding 80 feet of visibility, allowing you to see the entire reef system from surface to depth. The coral diversity includes massive table corals that extend like platforms, barrel sponges large enough to climb inside, soft corals waving in the current like underwater gardens, and hard corals forming the reef structure. Bunaken Island, the main island in the park, is small and undeveloped with basic but comfortable dive resorts along its beaches and a small village in the interior. The diving follows a similar pattern at many sites, dropping from the beach or boat directly onto the wall where you descend to your comfortable depth, and then drift along the wall propelled by gentle current that brings nutrients feeding the reef. The macro life at Bunaken is equally impressive as the big animals, with nudibranchs, tiny sea slugs that come in psychedelic colors and patterns, flatworms gliding across corals, seahorses clinging to soft corals, and countless other small creatures that photographers obsess over. Night dives reveal completely different animals including Spanish dancers, large nudibranchs that swim through the water by undulating their bodies, and hunting cuttlefish that change colors as they move. The local community around Bunaken has embraced marine conservation, understanding that protecting the reefs ensures their livelihoods from diving tourism, and community-managed marine protected areas show how conservation can work when local people benefit directly. Manado, the nearest city, offers excellent seafood restaurants and the chance to try Minahasan cuisine, which is distinctly different from Javanese or Balinese food, with its liberal use of spices and inclusion of some adventurous ingredients. The Mentawai Islands off the west coast of Sumatra are legendary among surfers for world-class reef breaks that produce some of the most perfect waves on Earth. Long barrels and powerful walls that draw surfers from around the world willing to endure the journey to these remote islands. The surf charter boats that operate in the Mentawais essentially invented the modern surf charter industry, taking groups of surfers to live aboard boats that position at different breaks depending on conditions, allowing access to dozens of surf spots across the island chain. Breaks like Lance's left, Lance's right, and Macaroni's produce waves so perfect they seem almost artificial, and watching skilled surfers carve across these walls or disappear into tubes is mesmerizing even if you don't surf. The Mentawai Islands are also culturally significant, home to indigenous Mentawai people who maintain traditional lifestyles including living in communal longhouses and practicing animist religion until relatively recently. The traditional Mentawai culture included practices like teeth sharpening, extensive tattooing, and living in harmony with the rainforest that covers the islands, but modern influences have changed much of this. Some communities maintain traditional practices and welcome respectful visitors wanting to learn about Mentawai culture. The rainforests of the Mentawai Islands are home to endemic species found nowhere else, including 4 species of primates unique to these islands that evolved in isolation after the islands separated from mainland Sumatra. The combination of world-class surf and unique culture makes the Mentawais interesting beyond just the waves, though for most visitors the surf remains the primary draw. Lombok, Bali's less developed neighbor island, offers beautiful beaches, excellent surf, traditional Sasak culture, and Mount Rinjani, Indonesia's second highest volcano and one of the country's most spectacular treks. Rinjani rises to over 12,000 feet and features a huge caldera containing a stunning crater lake called Segara Anak, which means child of the sea due to its blue-green color. And within this lake, a new volcanic cone called Gunung Baru has emerged from eruptions continuing the cycle of creation and destruction. The 2-day trek to Rinjani's crater rim starts from Senaru or Sembalan villages and climbs through forest, then grassland, then increasingly barren volcanic slopes to reach the rim where you camp with spectacular views across the crater lake. The summit push typically starts around 2 in the morning, climbing in darkness up steep scree slopes where every 2 steps forward results in 1 step sliding back, reaching the summit as sunrise reveals panoramas extending to Bali, Sumbawa, and countless islands scattered across the ocean. The views from Rinjani's summit are extraordinary, looking down into the crater lake from above and across the rim to Mount Agung on Bali. The descent to the crater lake allows camping on the lake shore and bathing in hot springs along the shore where volcanic heat warms the water, a welcome relief for sore muscles after the climb. Some trekkers extend to 3 or 4 days to explore more of the crater and ascend the Gunung Baru cone. The Sasak people, Lombok's indigenous population, maintain villages with traditional architecture and customs, and visiting Sasak villages in central Lombok provides cultural experiences without the commercialization of Bali. The traditional Sasak houses have packed earth floors, bamboo walls, and thatched roofs with no windows, designed to stay cool in the tropical heat. The beaches of Lombok's south coast, including Kuta Lombok, which is entirely different from Bali's Kuta, offer excellent surf and beautiful bays with turquoise water and white sand, and the area remains far less developed than Bali, offering more authentic beach experiences. Derawan Islands in East Kalimantan offer another exceptional marine environment with clear water, abundant sea turtles, and the unique experience of swimming with stingless jellyfish in Kakaban Island's landlocked lake. The Derawan archipelago includes several islands each with distinct character, but all share pristine water and remarkable marine biodiversity. Derawan Island has the main tourism infrastructure with simple resorts and dive operations. And the beaches here see green and hawksbill turtles coming ashore to nest almost every night, with the tiny hatchlings scrambling to the sea in the early morning, creating incredibly photogenic and heartwarming scenes. The snorkeling and diving around Derawan features healthy coral reefs, schools of barracuda, reef sharks, and frequent sightings of sea turtles that are habituated to divers and allow close approach. Kakaban Island contains a marine lake that was cut off from the ocean thousands of years ago, and the jellyfish that were trapped evolved without predators and lost their stinging ability, allowing swimmers to float among millions of golden and moon jellyfish in an otherworldly experience found in only a few places worldwide. The sensation of jellyfish gently bumping against you as you swim through the brownish water is initially strange, but becomes meditative. The lake also contains other marine life adapted to the brackish water, including small fish and unique invertebrates. Sangalaki Island is famous among divers for manta ray cleaning stations, where these graceful giants, with wingspans reaching 15 feet, come to have smaller fish clean parasites from their skin. And floating in the blue water while mantas swoop and barrel roll around you is absolutely thrilling. The Derawan Islands remain relatively undiscovered compared to Raja Ampat or Komodo, meaning fewer tourists and more pristine conditions, though getting here requires flights to remote Kalimantan followed by boat transfers. Ubud's sacred monkey forest, officially called the Padangtegal Mandala Wisata, Wanara Wana Sacred Monkey Forest Sanctuary, is more than just a tourist attraction where you can see and interact with long-tailed macaques. It's a significant spiritual site, with 3 Hindu temples within the forest boundaries, and an important example of human-wildlife coexistence in a densely populated area. The forest covers about 30 acres of dense tropical forest in the heart of Ubud, containing over 700 long-tailed macaques living in 5 groups with complex social structures. The monkeys are wild, but completely habituated to human presence, and they've learned to interact with visitors in ways ranging from charming to aggressive, sitting calmly for photos, grooming each other while people watch, or occasionally grabbing bags and water bottles looking for food. The forest maintains a delicate balance between wildlife conservation, spiritual significance, and tourism, with local communities managing the forest according to traditional Balinese, Hindu principles that emphasize harmony between humans, nature, and spirits. The 3 temples in the forest, built in the 14th century, are active places of worship with daily ceremonies and offerings, and watching Balinese Hindus making offerings while monkeys play in the ancient stone structures creates fascinating cultural scenes. The Pura Dalam Agung Padangtegal Temple, dedicated to the spirits of the dead, features intricate stone carvings and statues partially covered in moss and weathering, creating an Indiana Jones atmosphere. The forest itself is beautiful, with giant banyan trees, stone pathways, small streams, and the dense canopy creating peaceful shade despite the crowds. The conservation and research conducted in the forest has provided valuable information about long-tailed macaque behavior and the challenges of managing human-wildlife interface in developing regions. As our incredible journey through Indonesia comes to a close, I hope you've experienced even a glimpse of the extraordinary diversity that makes this archipelago nation so utterly captivating. We've explored ancient temples emerging from jungle mists with stone carvings telling thousand-year-old stories, stood on volcanic crater rims watching sunrise paint otherworldly landscapes, swum with manta rays over coral reefs bursting with more life than seems possible, encountered Komodo dragons straight from prehistoric times, witnessed elaborate funeral ceremonies in mountain villages where culture remains vibrantly alive, experienced traditional villages where customs unchanged for centuries still guide daily life, and discovered Paradise Islands where white sand beaches meet turquoise water surrounded by volcanic peaks. Indonesia's 17,000 islands encompass such incredible natural beauty and cultural richness that months of travel couldn't exhaust the possibilities for discovery and wonder. From the sophisticated cultural heritage of Java and Bali to the remote wilderness of Papua, From world-class diving in Raja Ampat and Komodo to the unique traditions of Tana, Toraja and the Baliem Valley, Indonesia offers experiences that challenge, inspire, and transform those willing to venture beyond the resort beaches. If you love the ancient magnificence of Borobudur, the dramatic volcanic landscapes of Bromo and Batak, the underwater paradise of Raja Ampat, the prehistoric wonder of Komodo dragons, the fascinating death rituals of Tana Toraja, or the countless other treasures we've discovered today, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more incredible travel documentaries. And if Indonesia's combination of natural wonders, incredible biodiversity, and vibrant traditional cultures captured your imagination, you're going to love our next video on the wonders of Italy, where we'll explore the ancient ruins of Rome, where emperors once ruled an empire spanning continents, the Renaissance masterpieces of Florence, where art reached heights never surpassed, the romantic canals of Venice, where palaces rise from water and gondolas glide through history, the stunning Amalfi Coast, where colorful villages cling to cliffs above the Mediterranean, the preserved city of Pompeii frozen in time by volcanic eruption, the rolling hills of Tuscany dotted with medieval towns and vineyards, and the artistic treasures accumulated over millennia in a country that has shaped Western civilization. Italy offers a completely different journey through landscapes where human achievement and natural beauty create something magical. Click the link in the description or the card on your screen to continue your journey with us through Italy. Have you been to Indonesia? Which of these incredible destinations is calling your name? Are you dreaming of watching sunrise over Mount Bromo, swimming with manta rays in Raja Ampat, exploring ancient Borobudur, encountering Komodo dragons on their home islands, or experiencing traditional ceremonies in Tana Toraja? Maybe you've already island hopped through this vast archipelago, surfed perfect Indonesian waves, or discovered your own hidden corners of these 17,000 islands. We'd love to hear your Indonesia stories and which experiences moved you most in the comments below. So share your adventures with our community of fellow travelers who appreciate this remarkable nation's gifts. Until next time, keep wandering, stay curious, and may your travels be filled with encounters that expand your understanding, natural beauty that takes your breath away, and cultural experiences that challenge your assumptions. Terima kasih, and we'll see you exploring Italy.